Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second episode of Big Blue Banter. I am Michael Collins,
John Ehrman.
and we are back. Thank you so much for the support on first one. We got a lot of downloads, almost at 100, only five away, so that was pretty sick to see. So we come back to you, a little bit of a break, but I mean, obviously, there's really nothing to talk about in the off season. But we have a lot that we got to catch up on. So I guess the first thing and the biggest thing is the Brian Burns trade. Comes to the Giants for a second and a fourth. And like, what is this going to do for the Giants defense?
I mean, I think we've got a good front seven now. We've got what's his name? We got Lawrence, obviously, um, Burns, Thibodeau. I think our line is looking good now, and we didn't really give up that much for it, which counts for a lot, I think.
You know what it is too? Like I feel like for the Giants have always been like, and I like Phil Sims. I love Eli. Like Phil Sims was a seventh round QB as well. Like these teams always won off of having that dog up front. And so to see that line come together again, like you look at like Strahan and Tuck and
Yeah.
just Pierre Paul, like seeing now the Giants have a new form of it, it makes me feel really good because this is their bread and butter. Their bread and butter has never been the
It's
Tom Brady.
always been.
So this is massive. Like this changes their whole outlook, I would argue.
And we really didn't give up that much for him. We gave up a second round pick and a couple of fourths or fifths, something like that.
Yeah, that's
By the
not
way,
and
we know Burns is one of the best pass rushers in the league, and we didn't give up any major capital for it. So I think that's a very good move on Joe Shane's part.
that extension too was good.
Yeah,
7 years in here and locked in. Look, likes to be a Giant. I like a guy that wants to be on your sports team. Just it's just good for the culture,
yeah.
you know. The other signing that I want to talk about, obviously, like we'll get to the other two ones that are kind of depth ones, and there's a couple other interesting ones. But this one I really like, and I'm gonna throw out a hot take here, and I don't know how you're gonna feel about it because I don't know if many Giants fans would support this. But like I do personally believe that Devin Singletary, hear me out, and we're gonna probably have a debate over this, will be an up not skill wise. I won't say skill wise. I do think if both of them played a full season, it's not. But after watching him in Houston, I think over a full 16 or 17 games now, the Giants got better at the RB position because Saquon never played. If
I know you're looking for an argument. Maybe you've been watching too much First Take, but I agree with you. I think Saquon was a very talented running back, and it's sad to see him go. That's true. But he's always injured. And Singletary is a solid player. We're getting him on a much better contract than we would have gotten Saquon at. So I think the value, it's better for the Giants long term.
Yeah, I'm glad we agree on that because I felt like you were gonna kind of like I feel like if there was too much attack, like that's a hill that I probably wouldn't die on. Like that one, I feel like if the right person attacks you, you kind of look like an idiot who's biased. Like, come on, Devin Singletary. But he was so good last year. He was on my fantasy team. He helped us rally. Like, I'm a big supporter of him.
He's
Not
he's
that bad
talented.
deal.
He's a solid running back.
Yeah,
No
and
issues with
also
him.
the O line too. Like the O line got pretty. Like I like these additions. John Runyon's a good veteran. Jeremiah Alamurner, I cannot say that right. He's like a good player. He can take a tackle position from Evan Neal, which I love as well. I think you give
hmm
him a shot at guard. I don't know. Do you think they start Neal at tackle, give him one more shot, or do they go right
And
to guard?
the thing was with Andrew Thomas, he had a miserable rookie season, but then second year he bounced right up and he was, all pro or something like that. Evan Neal had two miserable seasons in a row. And I think the only way we see him on the field this season is a series of major injuries or if they move him to guard.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm totally in on the Evan Neal playing guard because they've seen some early rankings, and I've seen some that have put the Giants O line in top 15, and like people might not buy that, but like Jeremy, that's a
Couldn't get
really
any
nice
worse.
signing. What?
Couldn't get any worse.
No, it's at least gonna be top 20, which is 10 better than where they were. Like, and even even if they're 30th, it's still better because they were so historically bad. But like, I think Michael Schmitz takes a step. I like his potential, and
Yeah.
this is a good five-man O line. So I guess like The other two, which are not that exciting, Jalen Mills, I don't know. He's okay. I like it. And we lost a lot of guys in the secondary. So I do think maybe the later rounds, you might need to pick someone up there. And then Drew Lock. I don't know. How do you feel about the Drew Lock one? Because he might get starts if they don't pick up a QB.
I don't I Drew Lock, he's shown some signs of being a decent quarterback. I've never been too convinced of his major talents, but I think he's a decent option as a backup. But what are you gonna do with Tommy DeVito now?
I
Like
don't
the
know.
man proved himself last season. What else do you want me to say?
I don't know. Tommy DeVito is like, he's something that you kind of look at. And I feel like that was such a show before this whole Giants drafting and moving on from Jones really came out because like think about it, the Winter Classic, like Tommy DeVito was the guy in the commercial, not the Giants $40 million
Yeah,
QB. That says
Tommy,
all you need to know.
he's a very marketable guy.
He is. I don't think he this is what's weird to me though, because you still have a year left before the opt-out with Jones.
Hmm.
So Drew Lock is probably your second guy, and I guess Tommy DeVito falls to the third string again. But it kind of blocks up bringing in a QB.
Yeah. So I don't because I can't imagine them wanting to drop DeVito just like that. Not necessarily because he's the greatest quarterback, but because he's such a marketable player, such a good locker room presence, especially on a minimum deal. Why not? You know. But yeah, I don't know what the thinking was behind Drew Lock, unless they really don't plan on drafting a quarterback, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But why would you take Drew Lock in free agency, keep Jones around for another year, and then draft a quarterback? It just doesn't make sense. You're overcrowding the QB room.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I don't know. They're in an interesting spot QB wise. I mean, I feel like this was I'm coming from the free agency perspective. The Giants from these moves, Joe Shane, like it's early, but he has put them in a good position to put a good product on the field that could make the postseason and could be really well in years to come. It's not going to be this year, but I think like 2 or 3 years, he's really put them in a good
Yeah,
spot. Moves he
I
made.
think we're building long term right now.
And I think that obviously that's the right call. Like I don't want them to go for some short fixes and dumb little things, especially I feel like after that one year where they made it, I
Yeah,
feel like this year was kind of where they tried to, make some quick fixes and think they were better than they were, and they learned from that. So I'm
yeah.
glad they're making these moves. But they were all smart, dependable
Hmm.
guys. So I think that's the right moves there. Can't complain about those. No, I kind of want to get into the draft because it's looks like a very hot topic. Everything is up for debate pretty much besides the Bears taking the first overall pick.
Hmm.
Like no one knows where any QBs are going. Some people are even starting to say that Marvin Harrison could fall to six, which is
Yeah.
outrageous. So like,
I saw some people say that Malik Neighbors, I think his name is,
yeah,
right? Some teams have him boarded above Marvin Harrison.
yeah, it's
So there's
crazy.
a very good possibility because there's a possibility that four quarterbacks go in the top five.
And I think the other guy now, Roma Duzne, is that his name? I kind of like him. Yeah, Roma Duzne. He could be another guy for the Giants that they're looking at who could jump up. Like, and the trades, there's going to be a trade. 4, 5, or 6 is going to get traded to someone. And I
Yeah.
don't think like I don't know. If Marvin Harrison's gone, it depends on what the Chargers do to me. If you want to trade up or trade back or what you want to do. Because if I mean, I don't know about you. We can start with the QBs. I think that's the most pressing issue. I don't want a QB in the first round.
I basically agree with you, especially because there's been some talk that we're going to trade up for a quarterback. I think that's a terrible idea. You know,
Yeah.
we can't give away a king's ransom for another quarterback. And this is a decently deep class, so I think we talked about this last time, but Bo Nix, day two, that would be a good value pick if we really wanted to go for a quarterback.
I agree. I don't know. The one thing I worry about Bo Nix is where he's going to go because some people overslot them. But I'm between Penix and Bo Nix in the second round, and I do think you'd have to move up a little bit to pass the Raiders and the Broncos. But see, the thing that I have about the sixth pick is they got really lucky. They need someone to trade up in front of them because if someone trades up in front of them and takes the Cardinals pick or the Chargers pick, and I think it's going to be the Vikings, then someone's going to fall into your lap. You're going to get Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors. But the question is, if they both pick and Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison off the board, you're not taking another tackle. There's no point. So I think if the Vikings are still on the phone, I would trade for the 11th and the 23rd.
Trade back. That could be a good move, especially because we have a lot of pieces that we need. We don't just need, we're not one quarterback away. We're not one tackle away. We have a lot of needs in a lot of
Yeah.
different places.
Yeah, I agree. And it depends. See, one thing that I found interesting, I don't know where you're on this, but I was doing some mock drafts and it said that the Titans were needing a wide receiver, which makes no sense because they have Hopkins and Ridley. Like Ridley's okay, but still, I don't know.
Yeah,
I just didn't make that much sense.
I don't see the need for the Titans for like a blue chip top tier wide receiver in the draft this year. But
One thing I was thinking about, so there's obviously the Vikings route, but the problem with the Vikings route is I think all the major wide receivers would be off the board with that plan. But the Bears need a deep like they would be so dirty. If they got that sixth pick and they got neighbors or someone like fantastic, they'd be so gross. The Bears could be so gross after this draft. But what I was thinking of was if they made a three-team trade so that they could move their first and their second. So their first would go to the Bears, and then one of the teams that picks ahead of them, since they moved back from the Brian Burns trade, that's got an early pick on day two, would send their second to the Giants along with the Bears first. And then the Bears would send like a third and next year's second to that team or some sort of compensation to compensate them for their second because that would give the Bears are at the 9 hole. I think that's probably where Roma Duzne slips in, which I think is going to be a very good receiver, even if it's not Malik Neighbors. And Malik Neighbors, I don't know about you, I've seen some of his interviews. Like I don't like the way he talk. Like some of his, I feel like he could have attitude problems in New York. I'm kind of worried about that. I
I
don't
haven't
know.
seen too much of his media to really make a determination on that. But the New York marketplace is an interest. It's a unique place. You need a special kind of person to thrive in that environment.
Yeah, so like I kind of that's why I'm on the Disney trade. And then also, if you got an early pick in day two, you pass the Raiders and the Broncos, and then you get either Bo Nix or Michael Penix. So I think even if you move back, even if you subtract the value you're getting at wide receiver, you do probably need to take advantage of the deep class because there's no QBs next year.
Yeah,
So I don't know. That's something if they could get the logistics of that, or even like this may be crazy because they need wide receivers, but I love Brock Bowers. And if Darren Waller is going to retire, I think that guy is going to be a stud. I
yeah.
mean, I
He
really
he he
do.
has the looks of it. He has the looks of a star for years to come.
I also think that if Michael Penix isn't available, you'd probably take like Javen Bullard, just beef up that he's a safety. So you beef up that secondary even more because they just got absolutely bullied and losing people. Um, I don't know. Like, see, I hate to bolster the defense more and not help out the offense because the offense is so barren. But like that defense would just become so dirty. Oh my goodness. It really would. And then the next pick, I guess, like I feel like the NFL is so different because you can do a lot in 1 year in a draft.
Yeah,
You know, like Phil Simms was a seventh round draft pick. Like that's
really.
crazy.
I thought Phil Simms was a first rounder.
No, he was the seventh. I only know it because I was listening to the fans like top 20 pick, and he was 20th. Or best picks in New York sports history, and he was 20th.
Wow.
And they were like, oh, he went seventh. And I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty dope. Pretty little fun fact. But I feel like you come into this third pick, and I do think you have Devin Singletary. So I don't think you necessarily need a running back. I don't think you get mad if you get one as a backup in the third or fourth round. But one guy who stuck out to me, if you don't get Brock Bowers, which I don't think you should, I think you should target a wide receiver, Theo Johnson, tight end. Or I
Yeah,
think if you don't get Penix, you go for Rattler around here.
Rattler. I mean, I still think of this day two quarterbacks. I think Bo Nix is the best fit for our team because as much as I like Penix, I think he's very talented, but he's also older than a lot of those guys. He has a history of injuries, and he's also more of a traditional pocket passer. And I don't know if I want to trust an older, more injury prone rookie quarterback behind our offensive line that's still kind of shaky if he's more of a pocket passer. I'd rather someone like Nix who's a little bit more mobile. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's true. And I like mobility more nowadays anyway, just because I feel like that's kind of the
That's
way
just the way the
it's
league is
becoming.
gone.
Yeah, so and there's so much more you can do with it. Like, I don't know, Daniel Jones is just he tries to be a mobile passer and
He
then he
has straight
can't
line
do it well.
speed. He's not very elusive though.
Yeah, exactly. And when you look at a guy like see, there's some things that I really like and I look for. Like the one reason that I love Brock Bowers for whoever's going to get him. I don't think the Giants are because they're too early. But like a tight end is something I love because you need that big 10-yard play and you need to move the sticks. You got it with that big guy. Or like you need the elusive QB who can find a way out of a hole and make that play. So those are two things that like those are my fundamental looking for factors.
Look, I keep seeing Bowers mocked to the Jets, so we'll see
Yeah.
what happens there. Him
I
and
think he
Vice
goes to the
President
Jets.
Rogers.
I think honestly, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. I think the Vikings are gonna trade for four.
The Vikings, they definitely need a quarterback.
And see, yeah, they need a quarterback. I don't you know what? I have seen Jaden Daniels falling a lot, but I'm worried about his injury history. That does worry me a lot. Also, like the elbow photo, it seems like he's gonna need to get work done on that. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah,
So
I see. I don't know what to make of that.
So I don't know. I worry about that too. Um I think best case scenario that I see it is that the Vikings trade for four, and then it's so tough to imagine a world where the Chargers don't pick Harrison, but there are some mock drafts where they think they're gonna take a tackle or Malik Neighbors. So you hope that he's ahead on their board and the Giants get lucky. Um, and then I think you just got to trade up on day two, and that would be
Yeah,
magical.
I think I agree. That's probably the best of all possible worlds here.
Like I will go on there and say this. I think if that happens, like I think they win eight, 9 games.
It's
I
too
would
early to
book
tell,
that.
but I would be more optimistic about next year than the previous season. Definitely.
If they got those two, I would say I would even book it. I'd put my reputation on it.
Booking your trip to the Super Bowl already.
No, I wouldn't book that. They would lose in the first round, but I mean, I would book that much. I would book them. I don't even know that they would make it. I just think they would be like 7 to 9 wins, easy.
I could see that. I could see that.
Decent enough team. Yeah, and then I guess I mean you were saying last time about the opt out of Jones, so I kind of wonder do you is there less of like a push to draft a QB even though like next year's class is gonna suck? Is there less of a draft just because you kind of go it would work out perfectly timetable wise to wait out Jones?
I don't have the figures on me, but I do know that the dead cap hit on Jones's contract, if we cut him after this season, is a lot less of a burden on the team than if we were to cut him now. So it seems to be that that timeline would line up better with a class of 2025 quarterback. Because again, if you draft a quarterback this year, then Jones just basically becomes like a $40 million a year coach, because we don't even know if he's guaranteed to start week one.
No, yeah. Especially with his injury. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about you. Like I know he gets injured a lot. I don't really people are throwing out the injury history. I don't buy that as much. Like, I think it's just that he's not good. Like, he gets injured, but come on, let's be real here. Injury
I
history
mean,
is the main role.
part of it is also he's been playing behind the worst offensive lines in football for his entire career. So just
Yeah,
of course he's going to be more susceptible to injuries. And also I think he's had a history of being a little reckless with his scrambles. He likes to
yeah,
dive headfirst into linebackers.
yeah. It's like, come on, bud. You can't be doing that. You can't be doing that with Evan Neal on your right tackle and all rookies and Justin Pugh playing left guard. It's like, come on, just get the ball away. I
Exactly.
mean, that one game where they all just went down in order. Like I think even Tommy DeVito got injured. It was like three QBs just
Yeah.
kept going down. It was actually absurd. I don't know. I don't really know if there's anything else to talk about. I mean, middle of the off season now. Um, Really not much until the season starts, so you have more figures. I feel like post draft, and then obviously, once you have the I mean, we have the schedule, but once you kind of know what everyone's team is looking like,
Yeah.
you know, like if this were any other sport, maybe not basketball, just because there's only 2 rounds, you're drafting the cream of the crop. But like, I feel like you could kind of picture where teams are going to go, but the draft can change it. Like, I
Yeah.
think if the Bears have a good draft, like they could be monsters. DJ Moore, if they got Bowers or if they got a Dusnay, oh my goodness. Caleb Williamson, like that team already. I like the Bears' chances right now.
Yeah,
To
I mean they managed to pull out a semi decent season last year, all things considered. So I think they can only go up from here.
yeah, like I think they'll be pretty half decent. I can't even lie. Um, yeah, I guess that's really it. I don't know. I mean, do you have anything else?
I did see yesterday from the ESPN beat writer for the Giants, whose name escapes me. I I don't know how accurate this is or what his sources are. Probably all BS anyway. But he said that Bill Belichick, sources are saying, next year he's interested in coaching either the Cowboys, the Eagles, or the Giants. And like I think we talked about this last time as well, but having the Bill Belichick shadow over Brian Dable's season, especially after all the offseason chaos, I don't know how good that's going to be for Dable.
No, I don't know. Also, like you got to consider if you're the Maras, like it's
Yeah.
also the point of like Brian Dable's great, but do you want Bill Belichick to go in the division? Like
And
that's
yeah,
scary.
you don't want Bill Belichick playing against you. And do you think John Mara would pass up the opportunity to say Bill Belichick is 13 wins away from the all-time wins record, and he could break that record as head coach of the New York Giants? There's no way
Yeah,
John Mara says, "Nah, let's stick with Dable."
that's true. That's true.
Especially if the Giants have a rough season this year, which is entirely within the realm of possibility.
You know what though? See, I'm coming at it the perspective right now. Like I think the Eagles have the best season. So that's what's interesting to me. I don't know that they would fire I think he's on the hot seat now, but like
Yeah,
Barkley, like I don't think they will be bad again.
no.
If they are, I think they're the leading candidate. The Cowboys, I guess they're in there. I thought they would have fired Mike McCarthy
I
now.
thought that too. They
I,
also made zero moves in free agency. So I
yeah, so I don't really know what they're doing. But the biggest thing is they're probably towards the end of like their kind of peak. I feel like it's going to get
yeah,
dark and gloomy down there. And Jerry Jones
hopefully.
isn't going to give Bell the power he wants as GM.
Yeah. Because Jerry Jones wants that power.
Yeah, and also I like Bill Belichick, but I don't know that I want him to have that power necessarily.
Not anymore. Maybe
Yeah,
back at the peak of his career, he was making those moves, but nowadays, I think he's still one of the best football minds, analytically, strategically, schematically in the league. But I don't know how much I trust him to build a roster anymore. I think you got
yeah,
to give that job to somebody else and just let Bill coach.
yeah. I agree. I think that's one of the tougher parts. I think if he's only picking those two, I think Eagles and Giants would lead it for me. I think Giants makes the most sense, and
Yeah, of course.
I think the Giants are not going to make the playoffs as well. So I don't think they should fire Dable, but that's tough for
But
Bill
if the season
Belichick.
blows up, yeah, if the season blows up, I could definitely see John Mara saying, you know what, look at this guy. He already has a legacy with the Giants, and there you go.
Yeah, that is true. Like they should make the playoffs, but they should be serviceable. Like they should
Yeah,
go out and play 60 minutes and be a competitive team and lose by 1 to 2 touchdowns.
yeah,
Like if they're going out there and they have those Cowboy games where they opened up last season where they're losing 40-0,
yeah.
it's over. Period.
If
Stop.
we don't win 6 to 7 games, I think Brian Dable gets fired.
Yeah, I would say. And I do think like I don't know if you get Bill Belichick on this Giants team that's 6 to 7 wins, I do think that there's
Yeah,
a lot of potential in it on a 6 to 7 win team, and they'll get a better draft pick, so they could get even better. I do think that I don't think this year. I think you give them 2, maybe 3 years for them to be a
yeah.
decent team and start to
It
really
does
move
take
towards
some time.
competition. Yeah, and Bill Belichick could be a part of it. That just sounds so sick. Getting Bill Belichick
Yeah.
as a New York Giant.
The only problem is though, he might also want to bring the whole gang with him, Joe Judge, Matt Patricia, Josh McDaniels. You got
Oh,
to
that's
rein in some of
true.
that if you bring in Belichick.
Oh, 100%. He's bringing in his guys. But
I don't know if he can bring back Joe Judge though. I don't know how well that would go over.
no, I don't think you could bring back Joe Judge.
Josh McDaniels is a good offensive coordinator. Terrible head coach, but a good offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I think Joe Judge. Yeah, I would be shocked if he got
That
another
would be
shot.
funny though. That would be funny.
It would
Joe Judge
be.
comes back to the Giants as special teams coordinator.
He was one of those guys too. When I watched him like go, I kind of thought like it's really interesting. Like he could be really, when they rock the opening press
Yeah.
conference, you're like, oh, this guy's good, and then you go and you're like, oh, he sucks.
I think the problem is he wasn't really that much of a football thinker, you know? Like I think he'd
Yeah,
be a perfect like lower division D1 college head coach where he could just run around, recruit, give good speeches, and then let his coordinators do all of the actual, football stuff. I
yeah,
think
I
he's a
agree.
good leader and that those skills didn't really transfer as well to the NFL level as the Maras hoped it would.
Yeah, I do happen to agree about that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's it. I don't know. One other thing I guess to touch up is Darren Waller going to retire, and what do you want to happen there? Because I'm not opposed to the cap coming off. I think he's just going to get injured. I don't know. I could go either way.
I mean, healthy Darren Waller is dangerous, and having a healthy Darren Waller next season is the best possible outcome. But he also has a lot of injuries over the course of his career, so I wouldn't be terribly disappointed for the future of the team if he retires. I'd rather it not happen, but ultimately, I don't know if it would make too much of a difference.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's a decent way to look at it. I mean, best case scenario, like the best case scenario for the Giants is they have that draft scenario we talked about, and then he's healthy for 16 games,
Yeah,
and that's a pretty dang, like, I don't want to say good team, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if he's healthy, 7-9 wins easy.
yeah.
They will
Builds
be
up, builds
great,
up for the future.
but I could see the other thing maybe happening. I can't see him staying healthy. He's getting too up there. Tight end's a rough position,
Yeah,
so I don't know. I guess that's it now.
should be.
Kind of touched on everything. Well, um, yeah, I guess sorry for the delay, but I mean, what else were we going to talk about really? There was really nothing to go. We hit it all in one go. We'll probably hit another one after freaking the draft. And then, probably when the one after that will be back like on Long Island because it'll be like preview to the season.
Yeah, preseason's kind of stuff.
So that'll be pretty exciting. Yeah, I guess that's all we have. Bye, everyone.